The first kind of sausage that demands attention is the budget-friendly option that often comes in oversized family packs and is marketed as a cost-saving solution for feeding many mouths at once. On the surface, it looks appealing. The package is large, the price is low, and it seems like you are getting a lot for your money. But the truth hidden inside these sausages is very different from the image painted on the packaging. In many of these brands, the percentage of actual meat is alarmingly low. Instead of wholesome cuts of pork, chicken, or beef, these sausages are bulked up with fillers like starches, soy protein, and even powdered milk substitutes. The goal is simple: keep costs low for the manufacturer while still presenting something that resembles sausage. For your body, however, this means consuming food that is far less nutritious than it appears. What these sausages lack in meat, they make up for with binders, additives, and cheap fats. The binders are often processed starches that create a glue-like consistency, holding the meat scraps together and giving the illusion of a firm sausage. These starches may not sound harmful at first, but in high amounts, they spike blood sugar, contribute to weight gain, and offer almost no nutritional benefit. Add to that the inclusion of trans fats or low-quality saturated fats from leftover animal parts. You now have a product that raises cholesterol, clogs arteries, and stresses the heart. For people who already deal with high blood pressure or elevated cholesterol, eating these regularly is like adding fuel to a fire. Another hidden danger in these budget sausages is the salt content. Because the meat is low in quality and the flavor needs masking, manufacturers overload the sausages with sodium. Salt not only enhances taste but also acts as a preservative, which means these sausages can sit on shelves longer without spoiling. The problem is that a single serving often contains more than half the recommended daily sodium intake. For families who eat these sausages frequently, that adds up quickly, leading to increased risks of hypertension, water retention, and long-term damage to the cardiovascular system. The marketing never highlights this. Instead, you'll see bold claims like, "great taste," or "perfect for kids' lunches," while the real health impact is tucked away in fine print on the nutrition label. There's the meat itself. Instead of using high-quality cuts, these sausages are usually made from what is left behind after prime pieces are taken for more expensive products. Mechanically separated meat, fatty trimmings, even connective tissues are ground into a paste, seasoned heavily, and turned into sausage. While technically still meat, the nutritional profile is nowhere near as beneficial as real lean cuts. Protein levels are lower, unhealthy fat content is higher, and in many cases, the body struggles to digest the heavy mix of artificial binders and low-grade protein. For children, this can interfere with healthy growth. For adults, it contributes to weight gain, digestive discomfort, and fatigue. The reliance on chemical preservatives is another concern. Keep these sausages stable in large family packs. They are often treated with sodium nitrites, artificial antioxidants, sometimes even artificial coloring to make them look more appetizing. The connection between nitrites and certain cancers, especially colorectal cancer, is well documented in medical research. Over years of regular consumption, the risk multiplies significantly. When you buy a product that is marketed as affordable and convenient, the hidden cost you may be paying is with your long-term health. And beyond the physical effects, there is a subtle psychological trap at play. Families who buy these products may feel they are making a smart financial choice by stretching their grocery budget, but in reality, the low upfront cost hides the potential long-term expenses in healthcare. The idea that something so cheap and abundant could be harmful does not cross most people's minds, which is exactly what manufacturers rely on. They use marketing terms like family favorite or grill ready to disguise the fact that the sausage you are holding is more filler than food, more salt than seasoning, and more chemical than nutrition. One of the most deceptive practices in the sausage industry is the heavy use of artificial liquid smoke, a shortcut designed to mimic the deep, rich flavor of traditionally smoked meats without the time or cost of real smoking. At first glance, it may seem harmless. After all, it's just flavor, right? But when you dig deeper into what liquid smoke really is, you uncover a product created through a chemical process where actual smoke is captured, condensed, and then processed into a concentrated liquid. During this process, harmful compounds found in smoke, such as polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, are not completely eliminated. These are the same compounds that scientists have linked to carcinogenic activity, meaning they have the potential to damage DNA, trigger mutations, increase cancer risk over time. For manufacturers, this shortcut saves money and creates consistency, but for the consumer, delivers a hidden health hazard in every bite. The flavor it provides is undeniably powerful, and that's why so many cheap sausage brands rely on it. True smoking requires time, specialized equipment, and careful monitoring, all of which cost more money. Liquid smoke, on the other hand, can be mass-produced, bottled, added in precise doses to give any low-quality sausage the illusion of being artisanal or hand-smoked. The end result is that what you are tasting is not the natural product of slow smoking, but a chemical approximation designed to trick your senses. Your tongue might believe it's eating something rich and authentic, but your body is absorbing compounds that were never meant to be ingested in such concentrated forms. Another issue with these artificially smoked sausages is that the liquid smoke itself doesn't work alone. To enhance the flavor and make it stick, brands often combine it with stabilizers, preservatives, and color enhancers. Caramel coloring is one of the common companions, lending the meat that deep brown, grilled look, even though it never touched real smoke or fire. Some caramel colorings are classified as possible human carcinogens when consumed over long periods. Add this to the already concerning compounds in liquid smoke, and you now have a sausage with multiple red flags for long-term health. The health risks are not just limited to cancer. Many consumers report digestive issues, acid reflux, or stomach irritation after eating products flavored with liquid smoke. This is because the concentrated compounds can be harsh on the digestive tract, especially when combined with the high sodium levels already present in processed sausages. Over time, repeated exposure can lead to chronic irritation in the gut, contributing to inflammation and discomfort that people often dismiss as just something they ate, without realizing it's the artificial smoke flavoring at work. Beyond the physical toll, there's also the way these sausages subtly alter your palate. The sharp, tense flavor of liquid smoke can overwhelm the natural taste of real food. This conditions your taste buds to crave artificially amplified flavors, making it harder to enjoy simpler, natural foods like grilled vegetables, lean meats, or lightly seasoned fish. As a result, people become hooked on the very intensity that's damaging their health, and brands continue to feed that craving because it guarantees repeat purchases. It's a cycle of addiction disguised as flavor enhancement. Perhaps the most frustrating part is the illusion of authenticity. Many packages proudly display words like smoked, hickory, or mesquite in large fonts, often with rustic imagery of wood fires or outdoor grilling. But if you take a closer look at the ingredient label, you'll often find the truth spelled out in tiny letters: natural smoke flavoring, or liquid smoke. This marketing sleight of hand convinces consumers they are getting a premium product when in reality, they are eating an artificial replica. The trust people place in these labels is exploited, and unless someone is already health conscious and label savvy, they would never suspect that their smoky sausage is a chemical cocktail. The bottom line is that sausages flavored with liquid smoke are not simply about taste. They represent a broader issue of how food is manipulated in ways that prioritize shelf life and cost efficiency over consumer health. Instead of being nourished by real, whole ingredients, people are consuming engineered flavors designed to cover up poor quality meat and lack of natural preparation. For those who eat these sausages regularly, the cumulative effect of ingesting these compounds day after day is a hidden danger. And the tragedy is that many families, especially those looking for affordable and flavorful options, unknowingly choose these products, believing them to be wholesome and satisfying, never realizing that every smoky bite carries with it a risk their body will quietly absorb until it can no longer be ignored. One of the most overlooked dangers in certain sausage brands lies in their frequent use of additives such as MSG and sodium erythorbate, two ingredients that often slip past the consumer unnoticed because they are written in small print on the label or hidden behind vague terms like flavor enhancer or preservative. Monosodium glutamate, or MSG, is used to intensify flavor, making the sausage taste richer and meatier than it truly is. While some argue that MSG in moderation is harmless, the way it is used in processed meats is anything but moderate. It artificially tricks the brain into craving more, creating a cycle of overeating and dependence. For individuals who are sensitive, MSG can trigger headaches, dizziness, and allergic-type reactions, which can feel confusing since the connection between what was eaten and the physical symptoms is not always obvious. Even for those who do not notice immediate effects, prolonged intake has been associated with metabolic issues, disrupted appetite control, inflammation within the body. Then there is sodium erythorbate, another common additive in mass-produced sausages, which serves as a curing agent to keep the meat looking fresh and pink, while also preventing the growth of bacteria during storage. At first, this might sound like a safety measure, but when examined closely, the story is not so reassuring. Sodium erythorbate is a synthetic chemical derived from sugars and often used alongside sodium nitrite, which has well-documented links to cancer risk, particularly colorectal cancer. The pairing of nitrites and erythorbate in sausages creates a visual illusion of freshness and quality, convincing consumers that what they are eating is clean and safe, when in reality, it is being held together by artificial chemistry. For the human body, processing these compounds over and over again can lead to oxidative stress, which damages cells and accelerates aging from the inside out. What makes these additives particularly concerning is the cumulative effect. Eating one sausage that contains MSG or sodium erythorbate may not cause visible harm, but most people are not eating them just once. These sausages are often consumed at breakfast, packed into lunchboxes, or grilled at weekend gatherings. Over weeks, months, and years, the intake of these additives builds up, stressing the body's detoxification systems, particularly the liver and kidneys. For someone already dealing with high blood pressure, diabetes, or other chronic conditions, extra burden can quietly push their health further down a dangerous path. Instead of being a simple source of protein, the sausage becomes a steady drip of hidden chemicals that erode health silently. There is also a subtle manipulation in the way these additives are marketed. Food companies know that flavor sells, and MSG is the cheapest shortcut to flavor intensity without using more real meat or quality spices. By leaning on these additives, companies can stretch cheaper cuts of meat and still deliver a taste that hooks the consumer. It's a strategy designed not for nourishment but for profit, making the eater dependent on a taste they cannot easily replicate at home with natural ingredients. The consumer is left thinking they are eating a delicious, satisfying sausage, when in truth they are consuming a cleverly engineered product that plays more on brain chemistry than on genuine nutrition. Impact goes beyond just individual health. MSG has been shown in some studies to disrupt satiety signals, meaning the body does not register fullness as effectively after consuming it. This can lead to overeating not only of sausages, but of other foods during the same meal. Over time, this pattern contributes to weight gain, metabolic syndrome, and insulin resistance. Sodium erythorbate, on the other hand, maintains the appealing look of meat, tricking people into thinking it is fresher and safer than it really is, which encourages higher consumption of processed meats overall. When both are combined in one product, you have a sausage that is engineered to taste irresistible, look attractive, and last longer on the shelf, all at the expense of long-term health. What makes the issue more concerning is how normalized these additives have become. Many people no longer question why their sausage glows pink weeks after purchase, or why the flavor is so intensely savory. They trust the brand, the label, the familiarity of the product, rarely pausing to think about the chemicals working behind the scenes. For children growing up on these foods, the risks compound even more. Their developing bodies are exposed to substances that alter appetite regulation, immune response, metabolic function during critical years. The result is a generation conditioned to crave highly processed, chemically engineered foods while their bodies absorb the damage quietly over time. Pre-cooked frozen sausages are one of the most convenient options on the market, and that convenience is exactly what makes them so appealing. They come ready to heat, they save time in the kitchen, and they seem perfect for families or individuals with busy schedules. The marketing often highlights how quick and easy they are to prepare, showing images of happy breakfasts or barbecues where all you need to do is warm them up and enjoy. But the reality hidden behind that glossy image is much more troubling. To create a sausage that can sit in a freezer for months without spoiling, manufacturers rely heavily on preservatives, stabilizers, and artificial agents that are not only unnecessary in fresh food but also damaging to long-term health. Chief among these is sodium nitrite, a preservative that has been repeatedly linked to an increased risk of serious health problems. Sodium nitrite is used in these sausages to keep the meat from turning gray or spoiling, giving it an artificially bright pink or reddish hue that makes it look fresh, even after months in frozen storage. The compound also inhibits the growth of bacteria, which is important in extending shelf life but comes with a price. When sodium nitrite interacts with proteins in the meat during cooking or digestion, it can form nitrosamines, a group of compounds that have been strongly associated with cancer, particularly cancers of the digestive tract. This is not just speculation. Numerous studies have shown a correlation between processed meats containing nitrates and higher incidences of colorectal cancer. So while the frozen sausages may look appetizing and safe on the surface, every bite potentially carries compounds that quietly erode health over time. Beyond sodium nitrite, frozen pre-cooked sausages are often bulked out with fillers and binders to stabilize texture after freezing and thawing. Without these additives, the meat would crumble, dry out, or lose its structure when reheated. To prevent that, starches, gums, modified food substances are blended in, turning what should be a simple mix of meat and spices into a product that behaves more like processed dough than real food. These fillers may be labeled as harmless, but they drastically reduce the nutritional value, replacing protein with empty carbohydrates while raising the calorie load in ways that contribute to weight gain and metabolic imbalance. They also interfere with digestion, often causing bloating or discomfort because the gut struggles to process the unnatural mix. The sodium content in frozen pre-cooked sausages is another silent threat, because they need to survive long storage and still taste flavorful after reheating. Manufacturers drown them in salt. One serving can easily provide a person with more than half their daily recommended sodium intake, and that's without counting the rest of the day's meals. Over time, this level of salt consumption leads to elevated blood pressure, increased risk of stroke, damage to the arteries. For older adults or anyone with a predisposition to heart disease, the impact can be devastating. Yet many people do not think twice before eating these products, because the harm builds gradually and invisibly rather than immediately. The artificial flavoring used in these sausages compounds the issue further. Freezing dulls natural flavor, so companies mask the blandness by adding artificial seasonings, smoke flavor, and flavor enhancers that trick the tongue into believing it is tasting something rich and satisfying. The reliance on artificial taste conditioning makes people crave the product more often, feeding a cycle of consumption. It is not about nourishment, but about engineering a product that people will keep buying, regardless of the cost to their health. The result is a sausage that is more of a laboratory experiment than a real food item, but packaged in a way that convinces consumers it is safe, convenient, even family-friendly. There is also the question of how these sausages affect eating habits. Because they are ready to eat with minimal effort, they often replace fresh meals. Families pressed for time may choose them over cooking fresh meats or vegetables, creating a diet pattern that leans heavily on processed food. This not only reduces exposure to essential nutrients found in whole foods but also conditions children to expect overly salty, heavily flavored, artificially colored foods as the norm. Over years, this reliance on frozen pre-cooked meats contributes to obesity, weakened immunity, a palate that no longer finds satisfaction in simple, natural foods. The frozen sausage may look harmless sitting in its neat packaging, waiting for a quick breakfast or an easy dinner. But beneath that image is a product built for convenience and shelf life, not for health or nourishment. What is sacrificed in the process is quality, safety, and the very idea of food being something that should strengthen the body instead of weakening it. Maple-flavored sausages and other sweetened varieties are marketed as indulgent, comforting, and even family-friendly, often showing breakfast tables filled with smiling faces and syrup drizzled over golden links. The idea is to associate sweetness with warmth, tradition, a wholesome start to the day. But what those cheerful ads never reveal is that the sweetness does not usually come from real maple syrup or natural sweeteners. Most cases it comes from corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, or artificial caramel coloring designed to mimic the look and taste of sweetness while costing manufacturers far less than real ingredients. The result is a product that feels indulgent but is in reality a blend of processed sugars and chemicals that chip away at health with every serving. High fructose corn syrup in particular has been linked to a cascade of health issues. Unlike natural sugars found in fruits, this industrial sweetener is metabolized differently in the body, placing an enormous strain on the liver. Over time, repeated consumption can contribute to fatty liver disease, insulin resistance, and eventually type 2 diabetes. For anyone already struggling with blood sugar control, these sausages are a hidden danger that can make management of their condition nearly impossible. And because the sugar content is masked within a savory product, consumers rarely realize how much they are actually eating. It doesn't taste like candy, but in many ways, it behaves like one once it enters the bloodstream. Another concern is the way these sweet sausages contribute to weight gain and obesity. The combination of processed meat fats with added sugars creates a high-calorie, low-nutrient food that is particularly addictive. Sugar triggers dopamine release in the brain, creating a pleasurable response that encourages repeat consumption, while the fat content provides a sense of richness that keeps people coming back for more. This one-two punch is deliberately engineered to make the food more craveable, but it also makes it more dangerous. People often eat more than they should without realizing just how many calories, grams of sugar, and milligrams of sodium they are packing into their bodies. Over weeks and months, this contributes not just to weight gain, but also to the silent onset of metabolic syndrome, high cholesterol, and chronic inflammation. Artificial caramel coloring is another hidden ingredient that raises serious health concerns. This coloring is often used to give the sausages that warm brown, syrupy look that suggests maple sweetness, even if no real maple has touched the product. Certain types of caramel coloring contain contaminants such as 4-methylimidazole, a compound that has been flagged as a potential carcinogen in animal studies. While regulatory agencies debate the safety of these additives in small amounts, the fact remains that most consumers are exposed not just once but repeatedly, across multiple products in their diet, compounding the risk over time. The visual appeal of a sweet, golden sausage comes at the expense of exposing the body to yet another layer of unnecessary chemicals. The way these sausages affect children is especially concerning. Sweetened sausage varieties are often marketed toward families, sometimes even carrying labels that suggest they are kid-approved or perfect for school breakfasts. The early introduction of processed sugar and chemical flavorings in a savory product creates a taste expectation that food must always be flavored to be enjoyable. Children raised on these foods often struggle to appreciate natural flavors later on, which sets the stage for a lifetime of unhealthy eating habits. The sugar highs and crashes caused by these sausages can also disrupt energy levels, concentration, and mood, which in turn impacts school performance and behavior. Parents may believe they are giving their children a fun treat, but the long-term consequences are anything but playful. On a deeper level, these sausages represent how the food industry manipulates perception. By using the word maple, or adding images of syrup and pancakes on the packaging, brands tap into cultural associations with family breakfasts and tradition. Yet in reality, very little in the product connects to real maple syrup, natural ingredients, or wholesome traditions. It is an illusion, one designed to distract from the artificiality and health risks lurking inside. The emotional connection consumers feel to the word maple becomes a tool that locks them into choosing products that do not align with their actual health goals. Even the portion sizes encourage overconsumption. Because these sausages are small and sweet, people often eat multiple pieces in one sitting without realizing how much sugar and fat they are consuming. A serving may look harmless on the plate, but it often delivers the sugar equivalent of a dessert combined with the fat of a fast food burger. This is why people who regularly include sweetened sausages in their diet often find themselves gaining weight or struggling with energy levels, even if they do not connect the dots back to this seemingly innocent breakfast item. The reality is that maple-flavored and sweetened sausages are a clever disguise. They appear comforting, they taste satisfying, and they evoke nostalgia, but beneath the surface, they are little more than processed meat cloaked in sugar and chemicals that quietly undermine health. They replace real nutrition with manufactured sweetness, creating both a physical and psychological dependency that keeps people coming back for more even as their bodies bear the hidden cost. Extra spicy or hot sausage varieties are often marketed as bold, adventurous, and exciting choices for people who want something more intense than the average breakfast link or grill sausage. The packaging usually features fiery colors, images of flames, or words like blazing, extreme heat, or red hot, to create the impression that you are buying a product full of authentic spices. But when you look closely at the ingredient labels, you quickly realize that much of that heat does not come from real chili peppers, smoked paprika, or natural seasonings. Instead, it comes from chemical flavor enhancers, artificial extracts, and even synthetic colorings designed to make the sausage look and taste spicier than it really is. This shortcut saves companies money, but it introduces health risks that most consumers are completely unaware of. One of the most troubling aspects of these extra spicy sausages is their reliance on artificial colorings like red dye No. 40. This coloring is added to intensify the fiery red or orange tones of the meat, so that it visually matches the promise of extreme spice. While it may seem harmless, studies have shown links between artificial food dyes and hyperactivity in children, allergic reactions, and gut inflammation. For sensitive individuals, these dyes can trigger migraines, rashes, or digestive distress. What looks like a vibrant, appetizing sausage is often a chemical illusion, and your body ends up paying the price. Then there are the chemical flavor enhancers used to mimic the burning heat of natural spices. These compounds can overwhelm the palate, creating an artificial sensation of spice that lingers longer and feels harsher than genuine chili heat. This not only irritates the mouth and throat, but can also stress the digestive system. Many people who eat these sausages experience acid reflux, stomach pain, or bloating afterward, assuming it's simply the spice itself that caused the problem, when in fact it is the synthetic flavor compounds interacting with the gut lining in ways that natural spices rarely do. Over time, this constant irritation can contribute to chronic digestive discomfort and a weakened gut barrier. The sodium levels in these sausages are also alarmingly high. Spicy foods naturally encourage people to drink more water or beverages, and manufacturers take advantage of this by adding extra salt to intensify flavor. The combination of high sodium with chemical spice creates a product that not only spikes blood pressure, but also leaves people craving more food and drink, feeding a cycle of overconsumption. For anyone already dealing with hypertension, this can accelerate damage to the cardiovascular system, increasing the risk of heart disease and stroke. And yet, because the focus is on the bold, spicy taste, most consumers never stop to realize just how much salt they are consuming in each serving. Another subtle issue is the way these sausages manipulate the palate. Genuine spice from natural chili peppers brings with it compounds like capsaicin, which have been linked to health benefits such as improved metabolism and reduced inflammation. But when sausages rely on artificial spice flavorings, those benefits disappear, leaving only the irritation without the positive effects. Consumers are led to believe they are eating something vibrant and authentic, but in reality, they are consuming a product designed to imitate natural spice while stripping away its potential health value. This creates an expectation of exaggerated flavors that conditions people to crave food that is more chemically intense rather than naturally nourishing. There is also a psychological trap at play. The extreme heat branding makes people feel adventurous or daring for eating these sausages, almost like it is a badge of honor to tolerate the fiery taste. This sense of identity is part of the marketing strategy, making consumers feel like they are part of a bold, thrill-seeking group. But beneath that surface, it is the same low-quality meat filled with preservatives, additives, and fillers, simply masked with chemical heat. The fiery image becomes a distraction from the lack of real nutritional value. For children and teenagers, the risks can be even greater. Young people are especially drawn to flashy packaging and bold flavors, often encouraged by peers or advertisements to try the spiciest option. Their developing bodies, however, are far more vulnerable to the impacts of artificial dyes, sodium overload, and chemical flavor enhancers. The result is not just short-term discomfort, but long-term habits of gravitating toward highly processed, chemically enhanced foods that set the stage for future health struggles. Parents may think of these sausages as a harmless novelty or treat, not realizing that they are exposing their children to a cocktail of additives that could disrupt mood, energy, and gut health. Extra spicy sausages are presented as daring and fun, but the reality is far less exciting. They are built on the same foundation of fillers, preservatives, low-quality meats as other cheap sausages, only disguised under a cloak of chemical heat and artificial coloring. The consumer walks away thinking they had a fiery, flavorful experience, But what actually happened is that their body absorbed a mix of sodium dyes, synthetic flavors that carry risks stretching far beyond the thrill of spice.